Okay, shalom, shalom. We are live. We are live. The water for attending online. The water for attending in purpose. Let's get this going. It's like we're running a little late, having a little conversation about nonsense. But we're back. We're live, and we're ready for part two. I think I taught this class. I want to say 2.5 weeks ago, more or less, with the intention of teaching relatively quickly. Things change, and schedules change, and the teachers change, so it's not the end of the world. But we'll do a little recap to figure out where we were at last time and kind of get the moral of the gist of the class back in order. Before we get started, shout out and shalom, Shabbat shalom to the brothers out there in Rochester, New York, the brothers out there in Virginia, and also in Houston. A lot of those areas or in the surrounding areas are also experiencing flood-like circumstances like we did a couple of days ago. So please, brothers, be safe. For some reason, and I've heard different theories. There's seed feeding theories about how Esau and their inventions are creating these storms. And there's also theories that the actual currents in the ocean have shifted, which causes the global warming, the global changing. Whatever it might be, we definitely know it's the Most High. Whether He's intensifying whatever damage Esau and the nations are already doing to nature, or this is just what the Most High is intending. But the moral of the story is please be safe. We hope and we pray that brothers and sisters are safe and that are watching and listening. And let's get this going. Shout out and shalom to Kawakab and his congregation in Guatemala as well. And back to the class. So, last couple of weeks, the title of the class was called Defining Our Purpose in the Truth, Part 1. And we went heavy into explaining 1 Corinthians 12. We kind of broke it down part by part. We're going to go back over 1 Corinthians 12. Give me that real quick. But we're going to run through it a little faster because we got a lot of the gist. If you missed it, please go back and watch it. But what I wanted to pull out of it was mostly, regardless of the administration that you're put in, regardless of the circumstance you're put in, how can you make the most out of the circumstance? And today is going to be more, instead of explaining what we can do, it's going to be more highlighting individuals in the Bible who really exemplify what it meant to excel in the arenas the Most High put them in. Really meant to make the most out of their circumstance, to really be an inspiration, regardless if they were the quote-unquote leader of the people or they were just a helper. All right? So let's get back into it. 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 1. We're going to be going to 31 before we switch off chapters. I'm not going to rush it, but I do want to get to the main part, so I don't want to spend too much time on this particular section. If there's a question or anything, please stop, raise a hand. I'm okay with explaining a little more, but let's start there. 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 1.
1 Corinthians 12, verse 1. Now, concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant.
Just keep rolling.
Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of the Most High calleth Yahushai accursed, and that no man can say that Yahushai is the Lord, but by the Holy Spirit.
Like I said, a couple weeks ago we went into extensive explanation of what this meant when we are all given natural gifts and natural talents. Whether we are in the world, whether we were born in the truth, or whatever the circumstance will be, the Most High had given us certain abilities that define who we were or makes us who we are, right? But what we're explaining is the gifts and the talents you had in the world aren't the gifts and the talents you get in the truth. You're not just born being the meekest person on earth. You're not just born being the quote-unquote healer of Israel. And it's like, for those that are watching online, I'm having little technical difficulties over here. But you're not just born with the qualities necessarily that we're about to explain right now. A lot of these qualities, a lot of these quote-unquote spiritual gifts and talents are learned and nurtured through the teaching, through the counseling, through the studying of the Bible. And you learn to take whatever you're naturally good at. For instance, if you're a naturally good orator. Well, in the world, the naturally good speaker was used to manipulate, to get what he wants. And the truth, the naturally good speaker has to also be the living example of it and has to use the speaking as a way to motivate people to change in a positive way, not to get one over somebody. So whatever your talents that you were coming in with, or whatever talents you were given, it has to change to a spiritual sense. And we went into and explained what that was a couple weeks ago. So keep reading.
Verse 4. Now, there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit.
There's different types of gifts. There's different types of virtues that the Most High will give you or will aspire you to attain. But they're all still under the guise and under the help of accomplishing the goal the Most High wants to be accomplished. All right, read on.
Verse 5. It says, and there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord.
Same with the roles people are given. Not everybody's given the quote-unquote teacher role initially. Not everybody's given the quote-unquote, you're the one that people got to depend on role. A lot of these roles, a lot of these administrations doesn't, or rather, the administration itself doesn't define what talents, what spiritual gifts you can attain, what spiritual steps you can take to grow in your particular walk with Christ. Read on.
Verse 6. It says, and there are diversities.
1 second, don't say anything. Can y'all go on the... Okay, never mind. Go on YouTube real quick and see if y'all can hear. I mean, after it says y'all can, mine says no. So I just want to confirm that real quick before we go too deep into this. Okay, yeah, y'all can. Okay, Con. I don't know if it's your audio, bro. Maybe refresh your phone or something. But we can hear. We can hear over here. All right. Read from the top again.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 5. It says, and there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord.
So the administration or the environment, the structure, the placement of the environment the Most High puts you in doesn't define or make you less than in the eyes of the Most High. That's the whole purpose. Read on.
And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same Yahweh or power which worketh all in all.
Mm-hmm.
But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit of the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge.
And now he's starting to divide individually what these particular virtues or these particular gifts could be. All right? He's saying one is the wisdom. Wisdom is the ability not only to know, but to live what they know. That's what makes it wise. I have the knowledge, I have the application, I can give you the step-by-step process, but I'm also profitable in my example as well. So if you needed the understanding of how it looks in person, because not everybody's an auditory learner. Some people need to be walked through step by step. And they need to see someone do the exact same thing you're telling them for it to click in their head. This type of person is needed in the body. This is what wisdom looks like. Read on.
It says to another, the word of knowledge by the same Spirit.
Or if it's just having the knowledge and the ability to tell someone, what is right, what is wrong. For instance, like I'm trying to learn more about health stuff and herbology. I don't necessarily have all the answers on every single aspect of herbology, but I can tell you a couple things what not to do. I have some knowledge on that. Very small. That's knowledge. I might not be able to walk you through. I might not be able to show you how to grow the herb and what every little nutrient and what it does in every aspect of the body. I can't do that. But if you need a little bit of information, that's important too. For some people, that's also needed. Read on.
Verse 9, it says to another, faith by the same Spirit.
And we're going to go a little bit heavier into that particular gift because this aspect is the centerpiece of what this is about. You got to have people whose faith is extraordinary. You got to have people who can stand bold and stand courageous when the rational knowledge guy can't see it working. When the average person can't see how this circumstance can benefit or can come out positive. The faith, whether you have a lot of knowledge or not a lot of knowledge, you know for a certainty that the Most High is going to come through for you. That person is not gender specific. That person is not age specific. That person is someone who knows that a shadow of a doubt, the Most High is always going to be there for him. And that person will always be able to corral and motivate those around them. So that gift is a necessity. And it's not limited by your administration either. Keep reading.
It says to another, the gifts of healing by the same Spirit.
And we were just talking about healing. Some people have an understanding of what healing looks like. Some people have an understanding of how they properly heal the body, but do they have the understanding of how to walk someone through it step by step? Can they specifically hold that person's hand and show them, hey, this is what's destroying your body? Or do they have the patience? Knowledge is one thing. Do they have the patience to share that gift to the next person? It's one thing to write someone some prescription drugs, say, hey, take this and you'll be all right. That's not how the body works. And for those that understand a little bit about medicine, the healing process is not a quick process. You're trying to undo years and decades of sickness and destruction and poison in someone's body. That's not something you can just give a medicine to. Because what pharmacy does is treat symptoms. I would treat the symptom of the problem and create more problems in the working of it. Can I have the knowledge of what healing looks like and then walk you through it and have the patience, understanding? So over here, my woman. I have the patient understanding to walk you through the sickness and not get frustrated when you backslide and hide some Cheetos in your room. Not get frustrated when you're still sliding sugar drinks even though you're on a no sugar diet. And still come back and still show you, still motivate you to change. That is a different level of virtue outside of just the knowledge of healing. You know what I'm saying? This is what makes it spiritual.
Right.
There's a fleshly aspect to it. But what makes it spiritual is the charity behind it. And that's kind of the theme we're going to be going into today. Having the gift, but having the charity to share that gift when you don't want to share that gift. When you want to give that gift to yourself, or you want to give that gift to people around you. But always being available, always being taken from. Because this is what Christ is all about. I was talking to your brother the other day about, I'm not going to say any names, but he was just telling me about how there's some certain fears that he has towards his life. There's a fear of, failure. Well, realistically, the fear of failure is a motivator to at least want to do more for Christ. Because when you understand what the Most High really wants from you, it's complete and total sacrifice of your mind, body, and spirit. But now as you look at when Christ says the servant's not greater than the master, what does that really mean? What time did Christ go to sleep? Before that. What time did Christ get free time? No, he got free time. When everyone was asleep. When everyone was asleep, he had to drink his wine and wind down. When everyone is asleep, he got him time. Which means also, it's very, very late.
Probably had like 4 hours of sleep.
And that's what I'm getting to. Because remember, hundreds of people are following him throughout his journey. Thousands at times are following him throughout his journey. So there's some early birders. There's some 5, 6 o'clock wake uppers. You go do the little morning job. And there's some that wake up at 8, 9, 10. But the second they wake up, they're going to be doing what? Pulling from you. Christ, I'm tired of that. Christ, we got some marital issues right now. Christ, I'm not feeling very good today. I'm dealing with problems the second they wake up. So how much time did he really get to rejuvenate himself? There wasn't much. Why am I going to explain all that? If we're not greater than the master, and we want to truly be able to help on the level that the Most High has given us the ability and talents to help with, this level of selflessness is what makes it spiritual. Having the ability, but having the charity to follow the ability is what makes it spiritual. Keep reading.
Yes. We are now at verse 10. It says, to another, the working of miracles. To another, prophecy. To another, discerning of spirits. To another, diverse kinds of tongues. To another, the interpretation of tongues. But all these worketh that one and the self-same Spirit, dividing to every man several as he will.
Severally as he will. And that's the point. Whether it be the working of the miracles, the prophecy, discerning of spirits, the tongues, the interpretation of tongues, all these different abilities, coupled with charity, is given to individuals to enhance the church, to bring the movement of Christ forward. All right? Finish verse 12.
1 Corinthians 12, verse 12. For as the body is one, and hath many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Yahushua.
The body of Christ is all these different parts, all these different charitable parts. Because what we're seeing is different aspects of charity. All these different charitable parts coming together and using one another to help produce the work of Christ. All right? Now, let's go to verse 27. I'm going to read down to 31.
1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 27. Now, ye are the body of Yahweh Shai, and members in particular.
Okay. Yep.
And the Most High hath set some in the church. First apostles, secondarily prophets.
So what is he doing? Now he's describing administrations. Because we were going over the different gifts, the different virtues, the different strengths that people can have as they develop in truth. Now we're identifying the administrations the Most High will have each individual do. Or each individual be the focal point of. Read on.
It says, thirdly, teachers. After that, miracles. Then, gifts of healing, helps, governments, diversities of tongues.
Uh-huh.
It says, are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret?
And what this is also showing, all the different diversities and the different segments that the administration of the Most High has given, there's many different examples of what that looks like and how, whether you're a part of the government, you're a part of the Roman soldiers or the Roman centurion, and how you're able to help and get and break free Israelite captives who were just teaching the word of Christ. Whether you were the helpers, when you read Romans 16, Paul lists a whole line of people that were considered helpers. Whatever administration you were, that wasn't just the only thing you did. That was just a fragment of how the Most High could use you in the work. But give me now verse 31.
Verse 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 31. But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way.
He says, but regardless of the administration that the Most High has you in, the most important thing is you have to covet the best gifts. Now, we're going to find out later, it's the gifts coupled with the charity with the gifts. Not just, I have these abilities, now I can level myself up. It's, I have these abilities, or I'm going to follow what those abilities look like in a camp. What that ability is supposed to represent in Christ.
Could that coincide with how the Levites had their responsibility? Like different sets? You had... One was a priest.
Yeah,
the
curtain hangers.
Yeah,
I would say there is an aspect of that, but the only thing about that, it was a little more limited, right? Yeah. And what Paul's describing right now, the administration he was describing right now. Remember, last or 2 weeks ago, we had read how Stephanus was just, or not just, but he was designed or designated as the table waiter, pretty much, to make sure the women, the Greek women were getting fed properly, and it wasn't just the Hebrews. And he was part of, I think it was 5 or 7, if I'm not mistaken, individuals, faithful individuals that were able to make sure the business of what was going on around them was running smoothly. They weren't necessarily the generals, so to speak, or they weren't the head teachers. But Stephanus, you even read that later, he carved out his own legacy. He carved out, based off of what he did with the knowledge he had and the impact he had on the people. That's how he carved his legacy out. So it wasn't necessarily as confining as you're just a curtain hanger. Because back in the day, you were the log slinger, you were the curtain hanger, you were the decorative designer, you were the ark holder. The Most High didn't really go into explaining the characteristics of those men. Although, if they were chosen to do that, more than likely they were supposed to be responsible men, like in Acts 6. But he was really describing the character traits and the abilities they had and how they were able to affect the people on a positive level, regardless of the station the Most High had them in. So, what we're going over now is, we have the administrations, and the Most High has given us what these administrations, or what we can do within these administrations. What he's telling us at the end is, our job, instead of coveting the flesh, instead of coveting things that's out of our control, or coveting maybe a different administration, my job is to covet the abilities and the virtues that the Most High values in the Word, not what I value. So, with that being said, let that go. Give me Ecclesiastes 14 and verse 20 through 27.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, page 78.
Ecclesiastes. Read that, sir.
It's like, sir.
Verse 20. 14 and verse 20 through 27.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 20. Blessed is the man that doth meditate good things in wisdom, and that reasoneth of holy things by his understanding.
He says, blessed is the man that meditates on the good things. In this case, we're talking about the gifts. We're talking about the virtues. How can I effectively push the work of the Most High forward? How can I effectively make this run smoother? How can I effectively be used more? That mentality is what will be blessed. Read from top one more time.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 20. Blessed is the man that doth meditate good things in wisdom, and that reasoneth of holy things by his understanding.
Read on.
He that considereth her ways in his heart shall also have understanding in her secrets.
What he's saying is the person, the her is referring to wisdom. The person that is constantly meditating on the wisdom, constantly meditating on what they can do. Because before you have a direction, before you have a definite answer of what purpose I'm going to have in the truth, the question you got to ask yourself is, what impact do you want to have? How far are you willing to take it? What are you willing to lose to get it? We just listed out some of the blessings or some of the gifts you can acquire, and we just said you're not born with them. These are a lot of these things are you have to learn. You have to give your mind, your spirit to it. If you want to be the next healer in the camp, what are you going to have to do? Why are you doing the work of the Most High?
You have to give your mind to it.
You have to give your mind to that. If you want to be not healer, interpreter of tongues, what am I going to have to give my mind to?
You're going to have to put hours in.
Outside of what? The administration that you were already given. Remember, we're not talking about administrations here. These are just gifts that you want to have or that you want to acquire inside the administration you're given.
That means you got to take extra time on those gifts, working on those gifts outside of the work.
That's
the Most High.
Because, again, it's what we're doing is you have your natural abilities. The Most High will give you, based off of your trustworthy, the administration that your natural abilities fit. But once you get there, are you going to just stop growing? Are you going to stop expanding? Are you going to stop pushing yourself? What the Most High wants to see is how many works can you multiply? We'll get to that later in the class. How much more can you multiply on yourself? How many more burdens can you put on yourself? Because that's what that whole storyline was about. About the talents, we went into that, months and months ago. Mm-hmm. How those talents were weights. They were burdens. Yep. They were responsibilities. If I'm in a camp, I'm in a body, I got to ask myself, how many more burdens, or don't want to use burdens, responsibilities, am I going to put on myself? Mm-hmm. If my passion is about pushing the work forward, I've got to really consider that. So when I'm praying, asking the Most High, I want to do more. How can I do more? What are you willing to do to get what you're looking for? You're going to ask, you're going to seek, and the Most High will give you a way to do it. But are you going to put the time, energy, and spirit into it while maintaining your work at a very high level? And this is what this class is really focusing on. So, we're at Ecclesiastes 14 and verse 22 now.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 22. Go after her as one that traces.
Now we're starting to see a correlation between Ecclesiastes 14 and 22 and 1 Corinthians 14 and 31. The tracing, the coveting of the best gifts. All that means is whatever gift you aspire to attain, you have to follow it to a T. That means you got to ask questions. When I first came in, and I was asking every single body, I didn't care what rank you were, I was asking everybody, how do I become a better scribe? How do you write classes? I've asked Mal Waller, I've asked Yawab, I've asked Sham Shawan, I've asked Awar. I was asking everybody I possibly could what made you, or what steps you took to write better classes. And through time, and through questions, and through studying, then the answer became more and more clear. But if that was what I wanted to attain, I had to trace. I had to take the advice. Hey, you got to start with Proverbs. Hey, you got to start with Ecclesiastes. Hey, you got to start breaking down word for word what this means. A lot of brothers reverse, they don't even know what the words mean. You got to define these words.
They'll skip past the sentence.
They'll skip past, or when to stop in the sentence. Yeah. When to emphasize a point. When to expound on something that's a little bit different. that you don't hear in a day-to-day conversation. These are things you got to ask and ponder on and really meditate on if that's what you were trying to accomplish. But it's the same thing in any spiritual talent. Whether it be a knowledge scenario, whether it be about application, how do I live a certain way? If I want to be a healthier person, let me find the healthiest people in the camp and ask them, what do they do? How do you operate? Or if I want to be a better parent, let me find good parents in the camp. Hey, what do you do with your kid to keep them operating? Or why are they not always sick? My kids are always sick. What are they doing? What are you guys doing to keep them healthy that I'm not doing? It's a humbling experience, but it's one, if you're really about acquiring the understanding and really about growing, you would ask these questions. Because the Most High will give you certain people that could be the best example for you. That could be a physical, walking, living, breathing example of what to do in their particular arena. Could be the walking Montessori. I don't know if y'all know that program. It's for kids. It's like the super dope program for like daycare kids. The Montessori program is very expensive. There's some parents that have entire curriculums for their kids from 3, 4, 5 years old. And they already know step by step, this is how you operate. This is how you get them to 1 million words before age 5. Like, damn, 1 million words? What are y'all doing? How are you operating to get your kid this advanced? My kid's literally behind. These are the questions. If I'm truly in the spirit of tracing, I'm going to seek after this. Because the Most High didn't leave us hopeless or comfortless. He gave us the understanding of the scriptures, then he gave us people that are literally doing it. So, read it from top again. 22.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 22. Go after her as one that traceth, and lie in wait in her ways. He that prieth in at her windows shall also hearken at her doors. He that doth lodge near her house shall also fasten a pin in her wall.
Look at what this individual is doing to acquire this knowledge. He's saying they're going to trace and lie in wait for her. He will pry at her windows and will also hearken at her doors. He'll lodge near her house. Read on.
He that doth lodge near her house shall also fasten a pin in her walls. He shall pitch his tent nigh unto her, and shall lodge in a lodging where good things are. He shall set his children under her shelter, and shall lodge under her branches.
What is this individual doing to acquire wisdom?
Not missing an opportunity.
What does it sound like? Addiction. It's not like you're addicted to it. I'm obsessed with it. Where I'm not letting a waking moment pass by so I don't miss an opportunity to talk to wisdom, to encounter this spirit. Not only that, I'm going to put my kids around. So my kids can acquire like I'm acquiring. They make their entire life, their entire family about acquiring this understanding. That's how obsessive, or that's the type of spirit, dedication, addiction you got to have when it comes to acquiring these gifts. There's not a waking moment you can let pass by. There's not an opportunity. If the Most High is giving you an avenue, I got to wear down the steps of the elders. The Most High is giving you the understanding. I got to keep asking, knocking, and seeking. Not, I'm going to try. It was hard. I'll try again next year. I'm going to try. I'm going to study. It kind of worked for a little bit, but then it kind of didn't work. There's a little trick to life. If you're trying to grow in anything, I forgot the exact terminology. But what it shows is the brain goes through different cycles of acceptance. When you do something new, it will send off dopamine to let you know this is a good thing that you're doing. But then your old ways, or we call it a spirit, but it's a psychological aspect that happens where you're trying to do good, and that once dopamine is now, you get sad sensors when you're doing the same good thing. So your mind goes these little ups and downs. So now I'm trying to do good. All of a sudden, I don't have the motivation to do good anymore. Then I'm trying to do good again. All of a sudden, I don't have the motivation to do good anymore. These little ups and downs, you can't let the ups and downs get you. Like a diet. You do good for a diet for a minute, and all of a sudden, it's day 15. I really am craving a cheeseburger right now. I'm craving the most greasiest taqueria I can find. I want the Baja Bowl. I want whatever I got. I want the tortilla. I want the macaroni cheese with the fried chicken tenders, with the picadillo, with the salad on top, and a lot of cheese. But you're doing great for 2 months. Why do you have this sudden urge to sin? This sudden urge to destroy or wreck your body. Then you be upset and angry right after you finish the food.
Right.
These are the different cycles the mind will play on you. We can call it parasites. We can call it, hormone imbalances. We can call all those things. Regardless of what it is that's maybe driving the factor, it's something you have to work through. It's a feeling that you can't let take over the development. For instance, when you're in school, for those that were in school, well, everyone was in school. Whether you're in high school or college, you got a presentation due on Friday. Most of us weren't doing nothing until about Wednesday, Thursday, before that presentation, even though you were told a month ahead. Thursday night, you're cramming, going crazy. But even before Thursday night, you only really did it because you had to. You didn't really want to do it then. I know some people, they did their 1,000-word, 2,000-word paper in 2 hours, so they wait to the very last minute because they're just procrastinating. I just don't want to do this paper, bro. And they're sitting there rolling their chair and they're just in the library doing nothing. So like, I don't want to do it. I have a job to get accomplished. I can't let my mind tell me this isn't important. I can't let my mind convince me what you're doing is not working towards a positive result. It's the same thing in the truth. If I'm studying the scriptures, then when that spirit hits you, man, you don't got to do this. It's not the end of the world tomorrow. Why are you going so hard? Why do you want to learn the end times? There's peace right now. What are you giving so much energy and exertion to? That's Satan telling you, hey, don't do this. I don't want you to block you from the virtue you're going to acquire. What he's saying is the person that is truly prying at the door, putting their tent there, putting their kids under the same type of disciplines, is the person that will get the understanding and the person that can be used on a larger capacity. That type of character trait, whether it be dedication, whether it be addiction, whether it be motivation, that is not just a one-time thing. If I'm putting my tent next to this thing, it don't matter if the elements is out, it don't matter if it's cold, it don't matter if it's raining, it don't matter if there's a hurricane season, I'm not stopping this for nothing. For those that seen David Goggins or people that have excelled in the flesh, where they gonna run regardless. Or I forgot the big yoke black dude. But he was talking about how he's lifting weights, whether it's on his birthday, whether it's on holidays. He's doing curls. C.T. Fletcher. I'm doing curls on my birthday. I got curls for my birthday. I got curls for Christmas. I got curls for my niece's graduation. I'm always gonna be doing this workout regardless of the situation. We can see it in the flesh, but in the spirit, we don't translate that. What you got?
No, I was gonna say, or the guy that say do these.
What you mean?
There's a lot of those.
No, when there's a video where he's like he's working out. He's like, do these.
Oh,
he's
okay.
showing you how to do the workout.
Yeah, the different variations.
Yeah.
Or it'd be like, there's this one, it's a crack brother, man. He's always like, he's like on day 1,280 doing burpees. He's doing burpees every single day. Like, this guy just, he's not missing a day. I don't know if he's just doing it for fame, for clout, whatever. But he's doing this every day for 1,000 days. I don't know how many years that is. That's like,
He's homie.
yeah, he's cool, but like, bro, is it that serious?
Yeah, actually, it is. It's a culture.
I guess so.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle for the world. But do we make this a lifestyle? Do we make prying and getting these virtues and these gifts a lifestyle?
Nope.
Keep reading. I don't want to harp too much on this. But
Ecclesiastes chapter 14, verse 27.
yes.
By her he shall be covered from heat, and in her glory shall he dwell.
And what he's saying is the heat from wisdom, or rather the comfort from wisdom, will protect him or make it all worth it to him. It's not the heat of the elements. It's not the comfort of the environment he's in. It's the fact that he accomplished it is what gives him the comfort, gives him the relief, and the glory behind it. Let that go. Give me 1 Corinthians 16 and verse 15 through 18. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 15 through 18.
Got it. 1 Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 15.
Uh-huh.
I beseech you, brethren, ye know the house of Stephanus, that it is the first fruits of Achaia, and that they have addicted themselves to the ministry of the saints.
I always love this verse because what Paul was letting you know is these individuals took it a step beyond. They addicted themselves to the ministry and what was ever entailed within their congregations. They took it to the next step. They went above and beyond. They added talents to themselves. They added responsibilities to themselves. And they accepted it wholeheartedly. That's why they were given a special shout out. You know?
That ye submit yourselves unto such, and to everyone that helpeth with us and laboreth.
And he says anybody that is like this caliber, that has these like virtues, that will go the extra mile to learn those extra skills, will go the extra mile to put themselves and make themselves part of the core of the body. What they're saying is these are irreplaceable people. They made themselves irreplaceable because of the works that they were doing in their congregations. He says these people you submit to, you follow, and you give acknowledgement to. Read on.
I am glad of the coming of Stephanus and Fortunatus and Achaeus, for that which was lacking on your part, they have supplied.
It says what they were able to do, these like individuals were able to fill in the holes of the body. They came in, they were on a mission, and they filled the gaps. Whatever was lacking, they took them on. They took the responsibilities on. They spent the time, they spent the dedication to learn and to be a force in whatever direction they were needed. These were honorable men and women. Read on.
For they have refreshed my spirit and yours. Therefore, acknowledge ye them that are such.
And the people that are taking it upon themselves to grow. The people, they don't have to be forced to lock in. They don't have to be forced to conform. They don't have to be forced to take this work to the next step. They don't have to be forced to grow and learn new talents to bring back to the body. Those people refresh the teachers and the individuals around them. Because now, instead of being the problem, they wanted to be the problem solvers. Instead of having the issues, they were the ones solving the issues. That's why they were refreshing. That's why they were knowledge-worthy. Or they were noteworthy, so to speak.
They took initiative.
They took initiative, they believed, and they accepted that we have to do more in whatever capacity the Most High wants us to be. That's what made them noteworthy. That made them notable. Let that go. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 3 and 8 through 10.
1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 10.
8.
Or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor.
Everyone is going to receive their own reward according to their own labor. But the reward that we're talking about is the virtue itself, is the skill of the ability itself, and the what's the word?
Talent?
No, it's the approval from the Holy Father. I was thinking of a different word. The approval from the Holy Father. They are receiving their own reward themselves, but the most important thing for them wasn't the reward. It was how can I be of a benefit to the body. Read on.
God. For we are laborers together with the Most High. Ye are the Most High's husbandry. Ye are the Most High's building.
Yep, you read them.
According to the grace of the Most High, which is given unto me as a wise master builder. I had laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon. But every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon.
So these individuals, what did they realize their job was? To build on the foundation that was set. Whatever the foundation was, their job was to acquire the different spiritual gifts they needed and be able to add on to what was already set for them. Be able to add on the work that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men couldn't do by themselves. Fill in those missing gaps. That's what it means to add on to a foundation. It's like we're adding on to Christ's foundation. He laid the foundation. What are we doing to add on to it? How are we doing to progress it?
Still keeping the standard and add more to it.
Still keeping the standard. But again, he didn't say take away from the standard, take away from the foundation. We're not chipping away at the concrete. We're adding to it. We're adding layers to it. Layers of protection. Layers of not just protection, but filling in the gaps. That's what these individuals, and I'm going to be more specific in a second, but I just kind of want to paint the motivation behind why someone would go these extra steps. Why someone would go as far as taking extra time out of their personal lives to add more talent to themselves to not benefit themselves but others around them. They understand they have a duty. And their duty is to be of a force and a factor to everybody else around them that needs them. Let that go. Give me Luke 19, verse 21 through 22.
Luke chapter 19, verse 21.
1 second. (21 to 22). All right, read that.
Luke chapter 19, verse 21. For I fear thee, because thou art an austere man. Thou takest up that thou layest not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow.
Some people have the fear that if I don't take it to the next step, if I don't add more talents with charity to myself, that I might not even make it. Whether it's the fear or just the pure love of the body, there's got to be one force or another to motivate you to do more than what you want to do. Motivate you to give more than what you're naturally willing to give. What Christ was checking this individual on, we all know the story of the talents. You knew what I required of you. You knew I wanted you knew I wanted the interest. You knew I wanted the building that I didn't fully build. You knew I wanted the building that I only laid the foundation for. You knew I wanted the work that I only gave you the base for. I wanted the completed work. I wanted the completed blessing. I wanted the completed skill. Not just what I gave you, which was the mind to do it. Not just what I gave you, which was the patience to do it. Not just what I gave you, which was the time to do it. What'd you do with the time? What'd you do with the patience virtue? What'd you do with the skill you had? How come you didn't flip it? If the fear is what you need, the Most High is telling you, this is enough fear. I'm an austere man. I require more. And what you think is enough is not enough. What you think is enough sacrifice is not enough sacrifice. The abilities you think you have, you can always give more. Because the Most High has got so many different individuals that kept going another step, kept going another direction, and didn't limit themselves. Read it again from top.
Luke chapter 19, verse 21. For I fear thee, because thou art an austere man. Thou takest up that thou laidest not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow.
So this is a response to Christ. When Christ came down, it's like, why didn't you flip this talent? Why didn't you flip this pound? Why didn't you add more responsibilities on yourself when you had the time, when you had the ability, when you had the luxury to do so? What's going on? He said, because I knew you wanted more than I could give you, Lord, than what I perceived could give you. I knew if I attempted it, I might fail, Lord. A lot of us have the fear to fail the Most High. A lot of us have the fear, if I try to do this good work and it doesn't amount to anything, then what was it all for? If I sacrifice at this level and I don't get the necessary result I was looking for, then what was the journey for? The Most High is saying, however it turns out, that's not what I'm asking you. However, the virtue and what the virtue can be used for, that's not what he's asking. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to be used? Are you willing to be put last? Keep reading.
Verse 22. And he saith unto him, out of thine own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. Thou knewest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow.
What he's saying is that fear is not an excuse. The doubt that we have is not an excuse to not grow. The doubt and the fear we have to not study to the point where we can be a voice for the Most High, when we can be an advocate for the Most High. is not an excuse because you had the fear. If I started talking, Lord, they might embarrass me. A lot of young brothers, when they come to the truth and they're just starting to learn the Most High, they have a couple awkward experiences or interactions with non-believers in the Word, and that stops them, or that might halt their growth a little bit because the fear of talking and it being rejected is now in their head now. When we don't realize that all through the Bible the prophets are being rejected, and they knew everything they were talking about. They were getting direct words from the Most High, and they were still getting shut up. They were still getting embarrassed. They were still getting despised, still getting spit on, still looked down upon. Whether you knew it was coming from the Most High's mouth or not, the fact that the entire community around you is telling you ain't nothing, and we want you dead, and we want you gone, that weighs on the psyche. And to keep going back out, keep teaching, keep inspiring, knowing that they're being hunted, knowing that they're being hated, knowing that they can be thrown in prison. That type of sacrifice and service and talent flipping that he's talking about. Regardless of how this ends up, that's not the focus. Are you willing to do it? What you got? You ready?
I was going to say, man, it's not any different than what Moses was thinking too. He had that fear too when the Most High told him he had to teach. He had the same exact fear that we go through even in 2025.
The magnitude, because the magnitude of what this is. I look at when you sit back and really think about what being a teacher means, right? As a kid, I didn't really understand it. In my head, I'm like, man, you're just counseling a bunch of people who don't want to listen. That was my young interpretation of hearing the counsels that a war had to go through. I'm like, they're not listening. You've been talking to them for 4 hours, and they still don't get it. And my thing is like, man, or in class. I'd be in class as a young kid. I'm like, man, I heard this class like 4 times. And I'm like, they still don't get it? They don't get you got to do X, Y, and Z? And as I got older, and I realized that, hey, there's just certain problems that don't get fixed immediately. And there's also certain problems that you have to keep walking people through step by step, so they can overcome, so they can accomplish it.
Because sometimes Israel always forget, so you gotta constantly be that tape recorder.
Well, it's not just forgetting. I think I like referring to the diet one because that's easy to kind of see. Diets are not easy to break for a reason. They're not easy to break for a reason because a lot of it's psychological. A lot of it it's a habit. A lot of diet issues is cultural. So you're breaking entire cultures. You're breaking entire traditions. You're breaking entire psyche. That is. It's not just about cutting food out of someone's diet. I told the brother, hey, you can't eat this without being sprouted. You can't eat this meat because this meat can have this reverse effect. You can't eat this rice this way. You got to eat quinoa this way. The brother was like, then I can't eat nothing. I'm like, there's millions of dishes in the world. I want you to cut out 5 or 6 things, and you're saying you can't eat nothing anymore? I remember back in the day when we were doing Feast of Unleavened Bread, and we couldn't eat bread, and there was a real problem. Brothers would just fast for the whole day. They're like, I don't know what to eat then. If I can't eat bread, I can't eat no fried chicken. I can't eat no toast. I can't eat no. Can I eat fries? Can I eat fries out?
Does it have leavening?
Does it have leavening in the fries out? Can I eat tortillas?
Oh my god!
It's 50-50 count. But people were going crazy. I don't know what to do. What am I saying? Whether it be diets, whether it be workout programs, whether it be teaching the Bible, what makes this work so impactful, or what makes it so large in scale is you're literally changing people's lives for the better. Well, they say thanks for all the help and answers you give me or not. Not the point. You understand, hey, that brother needed that 4-hour conversation. That brother needed that physical demonstration. He needed that video and that explanation of showing what adverse effects this could have on the body. He needed this breakdown. Because before this breakdown, his faith was kind of wavering. Whether you knew it or not, he was kind of like this. He had talked to a Christian that morning. He was like, I don't know. That is the magnitude of what you're doing every day. Whether it be in your homes, whether it be in the street, or whether it be in a classroom. The scale in which you're helping people is something you might even understand. The lives you could even be potentially saving. You might not even know. There's many people I've known that have been suicidal. They got a class, and all of a sudden, you know what? There's hope again. Whether I grew up with them or I've seen them in the work. these thought processes that you, a lot of times, at least for me, I didn't get it. I didn't see it. I just thought, man, you're just talking to the wind, like some of the brothers say. You're just talking to the wind. It's not true. I remember there's many classes. I was in the class and didn't get nothing he was said. Then I watched it again later. I'm like, man, this helped my life. This class actually hits right now. Because even though it didn't hit when I was listening to it then, it damn sure hits now. Excuse my French. This is the magnitude behind sticking it out, getting the understanding, being that example, and being able to give it and dispense it to somebody else for free. This is the work that we're doing. Someone had their hand raised. Who was it? What's up?
No, I was just going to say, I like what you're saying because oftentimes we hear about what the requirements are, what we're supposed to do, like you're talking about those talents.
Yeah.
And we psych ourselves out,
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying because it's saying, regardless of how you think or you feel, regardless of that, whatever you feel, that doubt, right?
Yeah.
Reasonable doubt is what it is. That
Yeah.
reasonable doubt you feel, push past it because the Most High knows you and trusts in you. And it sounds kind of churchy, but the crazy thing is, if I push past my doubts and my limits, right, I don't know the Most High's limits, what He has set for me. Right? And often He has it's just a barrier. He puts it there to see, hey, I got this blessing for you. But are you going to push past this initial doubt? And if you push past this initial doubt, then the blessing is to the ceiling.
I look at it like, I don't want to focus too much on us, right? Or like who we are. We're teachers, we're officers, we're leaders. It's not even really about that. It's more of you push past the fear of or the doubt of being the elegant speaker. So some people, they have the knowledge, right? But they don't know if they can disseminate the information. I think about all the times at the mall, and the day before, I would study one passage, or I would study, one or two verses. I didn't have the whole Bible, but those one or two verses is what helped me the next day with a person that came to the mall. And like, bro, I need to hear that verse today. Or that verse really helped me. That verse really got me through. Whether it be, most people don't know the full Bible. What I'm trying to say is, whether you know the full Bible or not, can you still inspire somebody with the scriptures you studied yourself? And this is not just for men. This is what we're really going into this today. This is a woman thing too. Because what the church is looking at specifically is everybody speaking the same thing. If I'm a new student, I'm looking for someone who's contrary. I'm looking for someone who don't agree with everything that's going on here. But when everybody is speaking the same thing, they're pulling the similar verses, they're under the same mindset, they have no way but to conform and to see maybe there's something to this. But if I see some people being strong and righteous, and everybody's like, I don't know. Or they got their little complaints and little gripes, then now there's a discontent. Now there's a schism in the body. That we read a couple weeks ago in 1 Corinthians 12. That schism is different opinions. So what I'm trying to get people to see is the pushing isn't just for the men who are already doing it. This isn't for the men who are reading every day. This is for those who ain't reading every day. This is for those who aren't pushing themselves past their limit, who have just limited their administration to their house, their administration to their school, their administration to their job. That's who this message is for. I'm not talking about the brothers that are doing this every day, reading the Bible every single day and studying. It is partly for y'all too, because there's more y'all can do. There's more we can all do. We're talking about those who
Limit themselves.
limiting themselves, whether because they don't want to go that next step, they don't want to read all these hours, because they think, that's just a man thing. Only the men got to read the Bible. That's not true.
Only the men.
I don't know who said that. Only the men got to know the Bible. You're following a man, and you don't know what he believes. That doesn't make sense to me.
Or
Yeah. You're following somebody who's reading the Bible, telling you what to do, and you don't read the same Bible he's reading? That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not doing that. I'm a know what's in this Bible. So if I get told something crazy, I can identify. That's crazy. That's not the Bible. I might still do it, but you kind of, at least I know that ain't Christ, dog. What am I saying? This is for your protection, and this is for inspiring someone out there in the world. Because guess what? Your husband's not always going to be there. Your father, your mother, is not always going to be there. I was a kid in school. I brought kids to class. You know why? Because I knew something about the Bible. I opened it for myself. I knew a war wasn't going to always be there. I know Ayana wasn't always going to be there. So someone's got to be Christ when the elders are in your face. That's what this is about. That's why I was harping so much on the administration doesn't limit the ability, doesn't limit the gifts you can display, or the light you can display. Where you're at doesn't limit how much good you can do for Christ. Doesn't limit your ability to build on His foundation. So, there they go. Give me 2 Timothy 2, verse 20 through 21. So what we're talking about, we're going to explain the motivations and the reason why people will push so hard. Why these individuals who are prying at the door, who are addicting themselves to this work, who are hyper dedicated to growing, they're obsessed with growing. They're obsessed with dedication. They're obsessed with learning. What is their motive? Where does it come from? Because before we can define the purpose, we got to have a reason to have a purpose. We got to have a purpose. What do we want to be in this work? Read that. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 20.
2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 20. But in a great house they are not only vessels of gold and of silver.
Man, I want to say this much. Look at this. There's not only gold and silver. There's not only super righteousness in the truth, or in a camp, in a building. There's other vessels in the building. Read on.
But also of wood and of earth.
Of lower quality metals, of minerals, in the same building. Now the question you got to ask yourself is, what mineral do you want to be? How do you want the Most High to look at you? If He's looking at a camp right now, how do you want Him to view you as? I'm not saying any of us here are gold, but there's definitely different works in the camp. There's notable differences in the camp. What do you want the Most High to look at you as? Read on.
Says, and some to honor.
There's some that are to honor, some that are changing, some that are growing at a really fast rate, some that are different individuals who they were 6 months ago, who they were a year ago, who they were 5 years ago. And there's some who aren't changing as fast, or who aren't pushing themselves, or who aren't dedicating themselves to learning something new to add to the progression of Christ. Keep reading.
And some to honor, and some to dishonor.
The Most High always has 2 and 2. He'll always let you see 2 versions in the camp to let you know who to pick to follow and who not to pick to follow, who to trace and who not to trace. But the individuals who are addicted to growth, who are obsessed with progression, who want to have a purpose, who want to have a defined role in the camp, or who want to be a focal point or a necessity, an irreplaceable part of the work, they have a different mindset to this. It doesn't matter where they start at. They could have been the wood. They could have been the vessel of dishonor. But something clicked in them. Read on.
Verse 21. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor.
They realize the faster they purge themselves from their sicknesses, the faster they purge themselves from their doubts, now they can be a vessel of honor. No one starts as a vessel of honor.
No.
The individuals that become the vessel of honor realize it sooner that I don't have time to play.
Right.
I don't have time to waste. There is no time in the truth to just coast. Because there's always another level. There's always another step. There's always a different gift you can acquire and teach and inspire with. Read on.
It says, if a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified, and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work.
Because what they realize is they want to be used by Christ. Mm-hmm. They want Christ to manipulate them and move them however He wants to move them, to reshape them however He wants to reshape them. They want that level of attention from Christ. You getting more responsibilities, getting more hardships, getting more strain put on you is the Most High telling you, we need what you have. We need what you bring in. If you're a new individual, or if you're one figuring it out, you don't even know what we're lacking in here. But whatever you got, whatever you learn, could be a force to push the motion of Christ forward. And whatever facet that looks like. But are you dedicated enough to study to get to that level? To the level where you can be used, whether in the job, out the job, in the classroom, in the work. Or are you okay with just mediocrity, which is what woodworks and earthworks are? Am I okay with just coasting in the truth? Am I okay with just getting by so I don't get in trouble? What you got?
I was gonna say too, man. In order to even get to that point, to be meat for the master's use, I gotta accept to purge. That's what it is.
Well, and that's the point, because what they realize is, what they realized that the brother in Luke 19 didn't realize about how you got to double your talents. The doubling of your talents is more purging yourself to get more out of yourself. For instance,
That's the cleansing agent.
exactly. For instance, like for us, right? We work a lot. We have a lot of hours to work, and there's only so much time to study to maintain yourself. Somebody don't do that. They don't even want to maintain themselves because they're so tired from the work.
Right.
But then there's a study to maintain yourself. Then there's a study to grow.
Yeah.
Those are two different levels. Then once you get past the growing phase, then it's, can I specialize? That's what that's what I watch Award do. What Awards do now is specializing in arenas. Because now it's, I don't just know the Bible. I got to learn the history behind what I'm saying. That's another level of study. Then it goes even more. You got the specializing. Then there's other talents you add on to yourself. Can I specialize in the word? And can I specialize in my physical actions?
Yeah.
Can I not just be the wisest guy in the room, but even how I operate on a day-to-day basis, I'm so tight with my actual works. There's no chink in my armor anymore. That's another level. What you got? What you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, does my wisdom match my actions?
And that's the point. Why am I saying that? Because there's always more I can push myself to. But a lot of us are just fighting just to read, to stay afloat, to not be drowning. But it's been a long time. He's like, I'm drowning right now. I'm drowning in the word right now. I ain't gonna say his name. He knows who it is. He was drowning. It was so much information being put out there. He's like, man, I'm just drowning. It's too much. A lot of us are trying to not be drowning in the word. I didn't get last class. I didn't understand what War was talking about. That you're drowning right now. Yeah, catch up. You need to go rewatch those Sabbath classes.
Yeah.
And catch up. And then you can go into the phase of, okay, now I'm learning something. And I'm adding on to the talents. But how much work are you willing to put in to get out of that drowning position? To where now you're not despising the work every day, or despising what you're doing every day, or despising having to come to class every day. Now you understand it, you accept it, and now you want to do more. Because you realize just coming to class isn't enough. It's not enough to get the Most High's recognition. This is what we're bringing out. These particular individuals are individuals that strive to clean as much filthism as possible. But what I'm saying is, to get to the point where I can just study or get past just studying for myself, I lose more free time. We have a lot more free time than we think. You go home, you settle down for 30 minutes before you do anything. I know for me, I used to sit in the car. Before I had to work, I was sitting in the car for 20, 30 minutes. And I just debrief. I'm just sitting on TikTok or on my phone. And I don't want to think about no problems, no babies, no nothing, no noise, no nothing. 30 minutes. That 30 minutes not reading the Bible. Then you go inside, sit down and eat for another 45 minutes. Sit around eating, fart around, just chill. Another 45 minutes. Now you got an hour and 10 minutes gone.
Yep, it's gone.
That you've done nothing towards reading the Bible. You look up. Now mind you, we work a late schedule. So we don't have that much time to really...
Late night is about to come.
Late night's already here. Late night is already here. It's already 8, 9 o'clock. Now after you finish messing around, it's 9:30 and you haven't done anything spiritual yet. But you're tired. Now it's time to go to bed. Now it's time to get showered up. Now you look at 10:30. Is your Bible getting open now? No. Or even on your off days. You might read for an hour or two. Then there's like 4 or 5 hours of watching TV. Or folly.
I ain't gonna.
These are realistic circumstances. I used to think back in the day, that's just obsessive. Y'all need to take a break from all that Bible. But there's real brothers out here that are reading for 6 hours a day. That are literally pushing themselves to their wits' end. And I would tell myself, oh, well, you know what? When I get older, I'll be like them. That's not true. You're gonna have less energy. You're gonna have less motivation. If you're not already pushing yourself to that extent, you're not going to do it when you're older. You're gonna have more things you want to get into, more things you want to do when you're older. There's always gonna be a reason why I can't get to this book. I remember Kyle Cobb a long time ago. He was breaking out a class. It was like a series of classes. This was when he was teaching every week. And
Romans 12.
it might have been, bro, but it was something like that.
12.
And the information was just shooting over my head, bro. I'm just like, I started coming to class actually. If you go on the old classes, I was there for like the first one, and you just don't see me anymore. I'm like, bro, I can't do it right now. I was so foolish because I had to catch up and watch all this again. Well, the reason why I mentioned those, there was so much information that was thrown out. He said, look, I ain't giving you all this book. You had to open up the Josephus, and you had to read the Wars of Jews yourself. You had to read 130 pages yourself if you want this knowledge.
Oh, he did say that, yeah.
Did you do the homework?
I didn't do
I didn't do the homework either. I didn't do it either.
I'm like, man.
I also did. I did the homework. I heard what he said. I said, yeah. I looked at it and said, oh no. There's no way. There's no way I'm reading that right now. I got too much I want to do. But I want the knowledge. Not really. Obviously, not really. Why did I bring that up? Because the brothers will give you the manuscript. Well, shoot, man. If you wanna get to understand the Paul, man, just watch 21 hours of Paul. It's on the playlist. Just watch it. You'll get it. I promise you'll get after that. Yeah. You want to sit there and watch 21 hours of Paul? Probably not. It's like 21 hours now. Now with the Wars classes, it might be like 30 hours. Because Kyle Cobbs is like 16 by himself. So Wars is probably like another 16 hours. You're sitting at 30. It's a cool 30 hour. But you will know Paul. You will know Paul then. You want 30 boy out? You want to blow a 30 boy out watching this? That's a lot of TV, bro. And it's not dopamine filling TV. It's like, oh, I didn't get that last 3 scriptures. Can we go back? I go back 15 minutes. That's the type of brain work you can be doing.
It's crazy because we'll do the same thing with binge watching movies and Netflix.
Because there's dopamine to it. Because it's flashing lights. It's flashing images. There's nice sounds and booms and pows and the stimulating. I don't know. I don't really watch the Love Island thing, but I watched like one little half episode of it. And I was like, yeah, this little game they got going on, it makes sense. Like, who's gonna get kicked out today? I don't know. Who's the least likable couple we got here? I don't know. They all look pretty okay. You know, they're cool. See nice people. Now I'm involved in this. I blew 20 minutes watching it with my family. I'm like, bro, this is not like, it's brain rot. It's mental. I'm losing brain cells doing this. But what am I saying? There's so much information. There's so much virtue. There's a lot we can trace. But we gotta give something up to get it. We gotta give time to get it. That was a long tangent. I got a lot of verses to get to. Let that go. I don't know where we're at. We're going to
Losing in 2 Timothy.
Okay, let's go to 1 Corinthians 13 and verse 1 through 3. Man, I gotta get to the story, bro.
Part 3.
No, bro, there's no way. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing part 3 of that. We're gonna get to the story. There's no way, bro. All right, 1 Corinthians 13 and verse 1 through 3.
1 Corinthians 13, verse 1. Though I speak with tongues of men and angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass, or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understanding all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I can remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing.
Why do we go here? What we're explaining is the gifts that you're acquiring, the gifts that you aspire for, is just that you can give them back. Because what's the point of having all these abilities and all these gifts if I'm not benefiting anybody with it? That's why I'm saying there is a distinct difference. Although you might be a healer in the world, or you might be a helper in the world, or you might be knowledgeable in the world, or you might be wise in the world. If you're not benefiting other people with what you have, what you're acquiring, then there's no benefit to it. You're a sounding brass. You're a tinkling cymbal. All you are is an attraction. But you're not benefiting anybody. So what's the purpose? What you got?
That's in my mind. when you think of sounding brass, right, or tinkling cymbals, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sure you forgive me. It's very annoying.
I mean, it's. I'll use this word. It's like you're sounding a signal to yourself, like, "Hey, look at me," but you're not benefiting anybody. So I'm looking at you now. I'm looking to see if you can help. Like, nah, I don't have time for you, dog. But you got all this knowledge stuff. You got all the information in the world, but you don't want to give. That's kind of the symbolism he's using. Read verse 3. Yes.
1 Corinthians 13:3. It says, "And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing."
And this is the point. You're doing good things in the world, but what the Most High wants you to do is, can I specify who the first attention is going to be? Can I focus on the body first and pushing the body first, and then give what you have left over to everybody else? They don't want to accept that. But if you're not doing that, then what does it profit you? What is being a good little boy and a good little girl, pay the taxes, got to do with Christ? If you're not helping build on the foundation. That's what this verse is calling out.
Yep.
You have your good works, you do good deeds, but are you doing good works and good deeds to your people? Yes or no? This is what we got to think about. The motivation behind what we do. The works that we do. Who are we profiting in our works? Who are we profiting in our abilities? Let that go. Now let's get into the story time. Give me Judges chapter 4, verse 1 through 8. I'm not going to read this whole story, but I might give an overview depending on the time we got.
Judges chapter 4.
But there's a couple things I wanted to get out of this. We're going to the story of Deborah. Yeah, oldie but goodie. Oldie but goodie. It's a oldie for something, yeah. I gotta get it, bro. Okay. Judges. And then get the Josephus ready as well. We're going to do a little Josephus work. Right. Read it.
Judges chapter 4, verse 1. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera,
Okay.
which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the Lord of Israel cried unto the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 28 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel.
Okay, so what's happening, the stories of judges follow this. We have a good judge, we have a good leader, and then we go wicked right after that. And then we get put in captivity for a couple of years. The Lord takes us out.
Yeah.
Then we go right back to being wicked again.
And sends a savior. He sends a judge to go save
Yeah,
them
so
out.
he'll send a judge, he'll send a savior, he'll send someone that has some type of spiritual integrity to get the people out of their rut, so to speak, spiritually and physically. At this particular time, we're going to hold that real quick. And we're going to go to the Antiquities of the Jews, book 5, chapter 5. Paragraph 1. We might jump around this just a little bit, but just want to hit some main parts.
Page 140.
Antiquities of the Jews, 551. All right.
Antiquities of the Jews, book 5, chapter 5, paragraph 1. And now it was that the Israelites, taking no warning by their former misfortunes, to amend their manners.
So there is a trend that was going on during this particular generation, where we were getting punished, we were getting our tails kicked in war, and put in captivities, but we couldn't the men couldn't correlate that the captivities, the failures, and the punishments was because they were not living right. Read on.
and neither worshiping the Most High, nor submitting to the laws, were brought under slavery by Jabin, the king of the Canaanites.
So they couldn't figure out that we're in slavery because we're following other gods and we're not following the Most High's laws and submitting to the Most High. They couldn't see it. For some reason, the men at the time could not see it. Now let's go to paragraph 2.
Paragraph 2. So they continued to undergo that hardship for 20 years.
So for 20 years, they were in captivity. For 20 years, the Most High had them on a heavy yoke, under a heavy yoke. Read on.
As not good enough of themselves to grow wise by their misfortune.
And they still, 20 years of slavery, couldn't figure it out. 20 years of punishments, couldn't see it's what I'm doing is the cause and the reaction I'm getting from the people. It's what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm living like is the cause and the reason why the Most High keeps stinging me. The man couldn't figure this out. Read on.
The Most High was willing also hereby the more to subdue their obstinacy and ingratitude towards himself.
But the Most High had grace still. Read on.
So, when at length they were become penitent and were so wise as to learn that their calamities arose from their contempt of the laws.
Now let's learn. What's penitent mean? Penitent. I spelled that wrong. Penitent.
Penitent?
Penitent.
Heard of that.
Penitent.
Ah,
Damn, skip that one. Okay, read that. Read that real quick.
penitent. 1828 Webster Dictionary. It says, one that repents of sin,
Okay.
one sorrowful on account of his transgressions.
Okay, so they had now a contrary heart. So finally they figured out, you know what? We're sorry, Lord. We're the one with our fault. We deserve these actions. So they were penitent and were so wise as to learn. Read.
And were so wise as to learn that their calamities arose from their contempt of the laws. They besought Deborah, a certain prophetess, among them.
Okay, so I want to stop right here. Let's go back to the scriptures. The reason I wanted to bring that up is I wanted to show the state of the man at this point. I wanted to show the state of the spirit at that particular time period and why the Most High had to rise somebody up. Somebody's got to be the face and the example of faithfulness in the camp. And it's not limited to just a man. Because obviously at this time, these men couldn't figure it out. And they were constantly making mistakes. They were constantly falling short. They didn't even mention Deborah's husband. We'll get into that in a little bit. But what we're showing is somebody had to be the spirit, somebody had to be the force to follow, to show Christ was still the way. Most High was still the way. So now let's get back to the scriptures. Judges 4 and verse...
You want 3 again?
Yeah, verse 3.
God, Judges chapter 4, verse 3. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time.
So the Most High made Deborah the judge of Israel, made Deborah the mother of Israel, because nobody else was willing to stand up for righteousness' sake. Not the husband of Deborah, not the families, the friends, or anybody around her was willing to come out and be bold for Christ. Whether because of fear or because they were so caught up in their negative, they couldn't see past it. She was the only one. And you got to understand the story of the judges. Because the judges, they were the most superior spiritual forces at their age, at their time. They were literally the ones that the Most High was speaking to tell them, hey, they got to do X, Y, and Z. And it got so bad, and the righteousness of man was so scarce, he had to raise up a woman to do it. Now, that's a shame on men, but what is it also showing? You have to be a spiritual force as a woman yourself. You also have to believe in Christ. You also have to study Christ yourself and understand why you do what you do. Because he's looking for someone to represent Christ. He's looking through the earth. Who loves me? Who's going to dedicate to me? who is going to give their life to me? And if there's no one spiritual in your arena, who do you think he's going to be working through? At your job. If there's no one spiritual at your job, you think he's waiting for a man to show up to be spiritual? When he knows you got the answers? No. Let's keep that in the back of your mind. Keep reading.
Verse 5. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment.
Uh-huh.
And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Hath not the Lord power of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and the children of Zebulun?
Yep.
And I will draw unto thee to the river Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand.
So what is she doing? She's reminding the captains of the host, you were already given specific plans on how to win this war. Why are you coming up to me? The Most High told you what to do to be successful in this. Why are you so fearful? Now, when you read the story of Barak, later on, you guys read in your free time. He was a bad dude. He took out a lot of people. And he still, although he heard from the Most High what to do, that means he got the answer from the Levites. The Most High spoke to the Levites, told him X, Y, and Z, this is how you win. And he still didn't believe it. And he had to get confirmation from this woman whose faith was so much more superior than theirs. Which is why they asked her, I need you with me. Keep reading. I'm going to prove that.
God, verse 8. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go.
The Most High told you, you're going to be okay. But he still needs that inspiration. Because this woman, her faith was the strength of the camp. They knew, if you believe it's going to work, and if you're going to go down there, then I believe it's going to work. That is the impact and the power of having superior faith, of having the gift of faith, and not being afraid when everyone else around you is afraid to express righteousness, to express faithfulness, to put their neck out there in the line. This is what Deborah represented in the scriptures. This is her impact. The biggest, baddest dudes weren't going to do nothing. Weren't going to move a finger, even if it came from the Lord directly, until Deborah was with them. Keep reading.
God, verse 8. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go.
But that's what the Most High said. He already gave you the answer of how to be successful. What it shows is physical examples is everything. No matter how big, bad, strong you are, without faith, you're nothing. And it also shows, regardless of who you are, you can push someone to strength. If you have enough faith yourself. If you have enough courage yourself. If you believe what this is about yourself. Now, let's jump over a chapter. We're going to go to Judges 5. Judges 5, 1 through 2. Then jump to 7.
God, 1, 2, and 7. Judges 5 and 1.
Like I said, what we're doing is we're establishing character traits of Deborah specifically. And we're establishing why she was important, but I'm not going so heavy into the story. Read it.
God, Judges chapter 5, verse 1. Then sang Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, on that day, saying, Praise ye the Lord for the avenging of Israel, when the people willingly offered themselves.
But before they were willing, we just read about Barak. What happened is she went down with Barak, and then the people were willing to give themselves up. Then they were willing to go to war. Then they were willing to stand up for righteousness' sake. But she had to be the pioneer. She had to put her neck on the line first. She had to have faith, the virtue of faith first. And then the Most High came through for them, because everybody's like, you know what, if she's going to do it, then I'll do it. If she believes, then I'll believe. This is the impact she was having on the entire people. It wasn't just Barak and his one little section. It was the people. The people were now willing to back this because of how far she was willing to take it. Jump to verse 7.
Verse 7. The inhabitants of the village ceased. They ceased in Israel.
What she's explaining now is the state of Israel before anybody did anything. While everyone was afraid of Jabin and his kingdom. While everyone was afraid of the war. They're afraid of the punishments. No one was moving in muscle. It says, the inhabitants, they were ceased. In Israel, there was no one there. Read up in the chapter. No one even went through the highways. They went through the byways. They didn't want to go to the main city. It was a danger zone. They were all avoiding and running from the issues. Read on.
Until that I, Deborah, arose. That I arose a mother in Israel.
She was a mother of faith in Israel. Because no one else was willing to stand up for righteousness' sake and put their neck out there until Deborah said, I'm going to do it. If you need it, the Most High told you what to do, but if you don't believe, I'll show you I believe. Then the tide changed. The willingness changed. Read on.
God, verse 8. They chose new gods. Then was war in the gates. Was there a shield or spear seen among 40,000 in Israel?
He said not only were they sinning, choosing new gods, when it was time for war, there was all cowardice. No one was willing to defend the city. No one was willing to defend the children. No one was willing to defend the women. They all had given up. That was how they were operating.
All the different tribes, like, nah, I can't do it.
They didn't want to. Whether it was, because obviously it's talking about a city here.
Yeah.
Whether it was they were preoccupied with their own folly, or there was cowardice. If there's no swords and no spears in Israel, 40,000, that means they were never prepared for war. They were never prepared for battle.
Right.
That wasn't the mindset they were in. Which shows you why the caliber of men were so low, so submissive to other follies. They were never in a fighting posture. They never had a fighting spirit in them. So the Most High had to raise somebody up and show them you need to be more strong. You need to believe in the Most High. You need to give this up. Get this fear up. Get this doubt up. Keep reading.
Verse 10. Salakia. Verse 9. My heart is toward the governors of Israel that offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless ye the Lord.
Now Deborah is laying out what it means to be a true governor. What it means is when no one else has the faith, when no one else has the willingness to put their life on the line for Christ, to put their passion on the line for Christ, to put their fears on the line, on the back burner for Christ. You're not a governor. Only the governor, only governors, only leaders are willing to put their life on the back burner and do more than the norm, do more than the average. Because the average doesn't move the congregation forward. The average halts it. The average quits. The average gives into their flesh. The average serves other gods. That's the average. The governors have to be the example of how it looks being righteous, how it looks being strong in Christ, how it looks being courageous and faithful in Christ. That is the governor. And that's what Deborah was giving praise to. Read on.
God, verse 10. Speak, ye that ride on white asses, ye that sit in judgment and walk by the way.
Speak, be the voice, be the spirit to progress and push people past their fears and their doubts. Be the living, walking example of what it looks like in Christ. That is your job. You that ride on white horses, I mean, that's the princes. The ones that are given the respect, the ones that are given the honor and power. When it's time to be faithful, are you going to be faithful? Why are we going into all this? The class is called The Purpose of Your Gifts. The purpose of the abilities, the faith, the leadership capabilities you have is for in time of need, when people around you are pulling for strength because there's obvious weakness there, you have to be the pioneer. You have to be the person to take that first step forward. What you got, buddy?
I was going to ask, when it says they chose new gods in verse 8, does that mean that with that idol worship that they can weak to not be in a fighting posture?
The idolatry was what they were doing before they got put in captivity. So before they were put in captivity for those 20 years, They had just gotten off of captivity by the Moabites for a short period of time. So the Most High kept stinging them and was trying to warn them, stop serving these gods. What the idol gods, when you look at what quote unquote gods are, it's whatever your passions are. There's gods for money, there's gods for lust, there's gods for fame, there's gods for everything. All it means is, where are you putting your focus at? Your focus is, I gotta make these crops grow. So I'm gonna talk to these crop gods so I can get my crops grown. Or I gotta make this house. The focus is the house right now. That's your God as well. They were so focused on everything else around them. The Most High wasn't the priority. So now, when real fear kicks in, right? Because now they got armies surrounding them. Now they got a king trying to kill them. When real fear kicks in, they don't have the courage, or they know they don't have the support system that is needed to get through this adversity. So then they had to go to the board, because they knew we're not connected like we should have been. Right. We wasted time. Just like us. Yeah. When we do our own things for so long, then the Most High starts stinging our life, the fear comes in, because now we know we're not protected anymore. What the Most High originally had given to us when we were locked in, that's been taken now.
That protection got taken.
The protection got taken. Yeah. Because you were giving your mind to everything but the Most High.
It's like Adam and Eve, right? They were naive to wickedness, meaning that they didn't have any knowledge of negativity. They know rebellion. Yeah. So when they got introduced to the negative, that's what draw them more weaker.
It's the same concept with after the flood. Because after the flood, they were just promised before they left the ship, no animal's going to have a natural fear of you. They're not going to mess with you. All the animals, all the insects, all the birds, they're not going to mess with you. So why is it their first thought when they get off the ship and repopulate a little bit that they're scared? What are they scared for? All the animals are locked in. The foxes and the coyotes and the pumas, they don't want to mess with them. They have a natural fear for the Most High. Why all of a sudden is there a paranoia? That things won't go the right way. What it's proof of is the Most High gives you paranoia when you're not locked into Him. He'll give you a fear of things that you didn't have to think about when you were locked into the Most High. Now you got to second guess everything around you. Now I don't know how I can get got. I did a survey in school. And it was talking about there's a kissing bug. I don't know the terminology, the science terminology, but it's called a kissing bug, and it's in Yucatan, in Mexico. And because of people who live in adobe houses on the lower parts of southern Mexico, what happens is that a lot of those adobe houses have dirt floors or concrete floors. But if there's dirt, this bug comes in the middle of the night and will just bite you, and you'll get sick for like 3 days, and then no symptoms. So for years, you got an infection you didn't even realize. Then you end up with heart attacks 10, 20 years later from that same bug. Because that same bug was secretly poisoning you the entire time. I'm like, mate, you going to die by a damn bug eye? That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Because it wasn't just a heart attack. It was also, it was neurologically messing with you. So like, it was 40-year-olds, 30-years ending up dead out of nowhere. They're like, bro, how has your brain aged so much? Or how has your heart aged so much in this 30 years of your life? But I'm like, the Most High can get you from anywhere. Anyway. People are scared of mosquitoes. I don't think twice on mosquitoes. Mosquitoes can be very deadly. Yeah. I'm like, if you sat there and really thought about all the time, all the places and things you could get got by, you would go crazy. That's not a normal paranoia. That's a spirit that's put on people who are getting further and further from the Most High. So now everything could get you. Everyone could get you. That's a fear that was happening on our people because we are so detached. So the board had to stand up and say, hey, the Most High is with you. Let me be the example of what that looks like. I'll put my life on the line first. Y'all follow suit. Let's get back in the scriptures. Now verse 11.
Verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel.
And I always love this verse because we pull it in the sense of even now we're always rehearsing the righteous acts. But that's what Deborah was always doing. She was always rehearsing the righteous acts, and when it was time to actually be righteous, she was there for the test. when it was time to actually be faithful and put her faith in action, she was accessible. She was readily available. This is the mindset that we're aspiring to be after, that she was displaying early on in the scriptures. Keep reading. Finish it.
End of 11. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah. Awake, awake. Utter a song. Arise, Barak,
Okay.
and lead thy captivity captive.
That's it. Okay. So, the point of this was, Deborah was making the statement that the governors have to be the people willing to offer themselves up. But that's the same thing when it comes to acquiring virtues and talents. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be a pillar in the work, a person who progresses the work, whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You have to be willing to offer your life up in exchange for this. Offer your time up. Offer your mental energy. Offer your passions up. So that you can benefit someone when it's time for you to benefit them. Deborah didn't know when it was going to be her time to be the leader of Israel. But when that time arose, she was ready. And she was a powerful force that inspired a nation to fight back their captivity. And fight their weaknesses and fight their flesh. Does that make sense? Okay. Let that go. Let's get into 1 Corinthians. No. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 1. I don't think we read that.
All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 1.
1 second, bro. We're going to go 1 through 3, and then we're going to jump to verse 12 after that.
Okay.
Okay, read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 1. Follow after charity.
Follow after what?
Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy.
It says we're supposed to be following after charity and desiring all these gifts so that we can do what?
Rather that ye may prophesy.
So that we can prophesy. What was the purpose of the prophesying? What was it supposed to do? Keep reading.
Verse 2. For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto the Most High. For no man understandeth him, howbeit in the Spirit he speaketh mysteries.
So he's going back and explaining that concept of if you're speaking in tongues, this is in chapter 12. If you're speaking in tongues, there's got to be an interpreter because no one knows what you're saying. Because the whole point of prophesying, the whole point of teaching was to edify. So if you teach some foreign language and no one speaks French in here, then you're just talking. Yeah, no one's getting anything out of this. It's got to be words. It's got to be at least the language in which they can speak. But verse 3 is the real answer. You know?
Verse 3. But he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification.
It says the prophesying, like verse 1 was talking about, the following after charity and the desire for spiritual gifts so that we can prophesy. What all those gifts and all that charity is supposed to lead you to, or the result is to do what?
To edification.
To edification of the people around you. Read.
And exhortation.
And the motivation, the inspiring for people to change and grow and fight their fears and face their fears and fight their sicknesses and overcome them. Read.
And comfort.
And give comfort. This is what Deborah was personifying. And I took the time to find stories about women in particular because there's a misconception that because I'm a woman, I don't have to be spiritual on this level. I don't have to read the Bible like that. Yeah. I don't have to sit here and know it like the men know it. That's not true.
All these classes is only pertaining to men only.
And that's the point I'm trying to make as well. As like this understanding, the Most High is trying to use whoever He can use. He's trying to use you, but are you willing to put the time in, put the mental strain in, put the hours and hours and hours of reading in, so that the Most High can use you in whatever capacity He sees fit? Again, the administration in which you're in doesn't dictate how much influence you can have on people. Doesn't dictate how positive and how many lives you can change. But what does dictate it is how often you put, how much time you're putting into this. How much knowledge do you know? How well do you live that knowledge? That's what dictates the usage and how the Most High can maneuver you and remold you. Now let's into verse 12.
Verse 12. Even so ye, for as much as ye are zealous of spiritual gifts, seek that ye may excel to the edifying of the church.
The purpose of having that zeal, that addiction, that motivation to be constantly knocking down the elders, constantly tracing, constantly trying to learn the skills that you don't have yet, is that you can edify the church. That you can be the force to push the church forward. That you can be the force to change someone's life. And you're not just waiting for someone else to do it. Am I going to take the initiative to be the person that people come to when they need help? People come to when they need information on something. Or am I even the person that's only taking? Those are the difference of dynamics. How much are you willing to do this for? Or what are you willing to give to being an important piece in this work? Let that go. Let's go on to story number 2. Give me Romans 16 and verse 3.
Come.
And we're going to finish the whole thing, so we might be too bad. But that's cool. Romans 16 and verse 3 through 4.
God, Romans chapter 16, verse 3.
Yep.
Greet Priscilla and Aquila, my helpers in Yahushua.
So, Priscilla and Aquila, husband and wife. Priscilla's the woman, Aquila's the husband. They were helpers. They were the helpers for Paul in his journey. And we're going to read that story right now. Read on, verse 4.
Who have, for my life, laid down their own necks.
It's giving a little glimpse of the impact that they were having in the work. It says they laid down their lives, laid down their life and their own necks. Read.
Unto whom not only I give thanks, but also all the churches of the Gentiles.
So the impact that they had wasn't just impactful to Paul himself, who they helped greatly, but all the churches in Greece and in Turkey that they were helping, motivating, teaching, yes, I said teaching, in their time. Edifying, exactly. So, let's get a little more on this story. Acts chapter... No, not Acts, sorry, slide. Acts 18 and verse 1. Yes, Acts 18 and verse 1 through 11. No, let's let it go. We'll go back to 11.
Acts chapter 18 and verse 1.
All right.
Acts chapter 18 and verse 1. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome.
So, Paul came and found in Corinth, in Greece, Aquila and Priscilla, who had just moved from Italy, not too long before meeting them, because they were told, "Get out of here, y'all Israelites causing too much ruckus." Now they say historically that the reason Claudius kicked them all out is because the ruckus that was being made, or the quote unquote Christians were making in Rome after Christ's death. There's a lot of uproars that are happening in Rome, so Claudius just kicked them all out. Who knows? But they all got kicked out. All right. So Paul comes in contact with them. Read on.
Verse 2. It says, and came unto them.
So Paul came in unto them, meaning now he's living with them. Story escalates real fast. They just moved from Italy, and now this family has already opened their home to Paul. All right, read on.
Verse 3. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought, for by their occupation they were tent makers.
So as helpers, they opened their home to him, and they gave him a job. and they worked together to sustain his life while he was teaching the word. Already great works. Already great sacrifices. Some people will take this as, you know what, I've done enough. I've already opened my life to him. I've already opened my business to him. What more is there for me to do to get the Most High's approval? Is that where they stopped at? Is that where their story ends? Is that what makes them great? We're going to find out. Keep reading.
And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Jews that Yahushua was Christ. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment and said unto them, Your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From henceforth I will go unto the Gentiles. And he departed thence and entered into a certain man's house named Justus, one that worshipped the Most High.
So what it's doing is going through the succession of events that happened before, Aquila and Priscilla come back in the story. Because this chapter is really about them and about Paul's journey in between. So Paul, he's teaching the word and they're rejecting it. Now he's going to different believers, different followers to see if they will see what he sees. They'll see that Christ the true God. Read on.
God says, and when he departed thence and entered into a certain man's house named Justus, one that worshipped the Most High, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed on the Lord with all his house. And many of the Corinthians, hearing, believed and were baptized.
So, Crispus was the chief leader of the synagogue. His belief inspired many others to believe after him in that church. So Paul did a great work. And we're going to find out Crispus wasn't the synagogue leader forever. All right, he was replaced about a year and a half later. So keep reading.
Verse 9. Then spake the Lord to Paul in the night by a vision. Be not afraid, but speak and hold not thy peace. For I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee. For I have much people in the city. And he continued there a year and 6 months, teaching the word of the Most High among them. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Jews made insurrection.
Okay, so the story is now shifting a little bit. He says, after a year and a half of teaching the word of the Most High amongst the Corinthians, there was a new deputy, and the Jews, we'll call them the Antichrist Jews. The Antichrist Jews, which is what they were, had a problem with Paul. They wanted Paul killed, and those that were following Paul. So now we're going to see there's a new risk attached with following Paul. It's a new faith risk. If I keep following this guy, bad things might happen to me. If I'm associated with this guy who's now a wanted man, it could get bad for me. Think of this for Priscilla and Aquila, wife and husband. They have to think about their own household, their own security now. Is that a factor that motivate them to sway their faith or not? These are things you kind of want to think about because, again, he's still living amongst them. He's still working with them. So they're directly attached to him. Keep reading.
Verse 12. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Jews made insurrection with one accord against Paul and brought him to the judgment seat, saying, This fellow persuaded men to worship the Most High contrary to the law.
Mm-hmm.
And when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Jews, If it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O ye Jews, reason would that I should bear with you.
He said, if it's about wickedness or you breaking the laws of the land, I got you. I'll take you serious. Read on.
But if it be a question of words and names and of your law, look ye to it.
for I will be no judge of such matters. And he drave them from the judgment seat.
Now, what that did was that might have spared Paul for a time, but that also gave the Antichrist Jews a green light to handle business their own way. So now that insurrection or that mob is going after the cause or the supporter of Paul, who was the head of the synagogue in which he was teaching. Read verse 17.
Verse 17.
Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. And Gallio cared for none of those things.
We know this is directly linked, because give me 1 Corinthians 1:1 real quick. Hold this. This is a passion. This is a passion crime.
1 Corinthians 1:1.
Yep, read that.
Paul called to be an apostle of Yahushua through the will of the Most High, and Sosthenes, our brother.
So Sosthenes was a brother of Christ. They were hand in hand. They worked together. And based off of how it was looking, Paul was teaching in that synagogue to get his classes out. So what the Jews did, when they realized that Gallio wasn't going to trip and wasn't going to judge their actions, they took it in their own hands to take out the supporter, the biggest supporter of Christ. Or no, the biggest supporter of Paul, which was Sosthenes. So, now let's go to, let's go back to 17 again. We're going to read down to 24. So, why this is important? Like I said before, Priscilla and Aquila are directly tied with Paul. It is no longer convenient to be living with Paul. It is no longer convenient.
The block is hot.
The block is extremely hot right now, and there's no cops coming to your defense because the cops said we don't mess with the zone. The zone is blocked off. We don't come to 43rd Street, 53rd. We don't come here. There's little streets in the United States where cops are not allowed to even intervene. So now you got a problem where most of the city is trying to get you, and there's no help coming. This is not a very secure thing anymore. But did that dictate their faith? Did it stop their growth? Did it limit the works that they were trying to do for Christ while following Paul? Keep reading.
Acts chapter 18 and verse 17. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. And Gallio cared for none of those things. And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren, and sailed thence into Syria, and with them Priscilla and Aquila.
So, hold this. What is now happening? Not only did they stay by Paul's side, they uprooted their entire life and kept following Paul. Their fervency and faith in Christ was not limited to chaos around them, was not limited to circumstance or comfort,
Losing,
dying. It wasn't limited to any of that, suffering any of that. They knew what they knew who they were following was right, and what they were learning was the truth. And that was what they were going to ride with to the end. That's why, again, after just shortly uprooting their entire life, they're moving again. They're leaving their clientele they created. They're leaving their business they created. And they're going to follow Christ or Paul wherever this is going. So now they're selling to Syria. Read on.
Having shorn his head in Cenchrea, for he had a vow. And he came to Ephesus and left them there.
Ephesus is like modern day Turkey. So now your elder who you were following just left you in Turkey. he left. He said, "You know what? Y'all have been faithful, but I gotta go on to my next work. You're gonna be the next face and the next camp in this city. And now your job and now your life is about everybody else around you. It's not about a man anymore. It's not about following Paul's great words and great wisdom. You are now the only. You are now the force of righteousness in this city."
So they was over Ephesus.
Yeah,
The church of Ephesus.
they were the church. The church was in their house.
Wow.
Priscilla and Aquila. I keep saying both of their names because if it was just Aquila, the man, it would just say Aquila. If he was the only spiritual force in that house, they would just say Aquila.
Right.
Like they just said Deborah. They didn't say Deborah's husband. They mentioned, hey, this is Deborah's husband. But they didn't say anything about that he did anything.
Yeah.
Why, and this is why I'm pointing it out. She was a force in this as well. Which means what? The wife can believe just as hard as the husband.
This is the real power couple.
This is the real Bonnie and Clyde. This is the righteous Bonnie and Clyde. The wife believed on the same level and it was dedicating on the same level to this cause like her husband was. That's the power in this story. That is the point of this story. So, we're not done yet. Keep reading.
It says,
19.
and he came to Ephesus and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. When they desired him to tarry longer time with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem, but I will return again unto you, if the Most High will. And he sailed from Ephesus.
So now the elder, the leader is gone. And the camp and the force and the spirit on which Paul, the foundation on which Paul was leaving, they have to keep it going. They have to keep the foundation going and keep building on top of it. Keep reading.
And when he had landed at Caesarea and gone up and saluted the church, he went down to Antioch. And after he had spent some time there, he departed and went all over the country of Galatia and Phrygia in order, strengthening all the disciples.
Okay, so now that's the end of Paul's story of this scenario. Read verse 24, and after that, give me Romans 16 and 3 through 5. So, read Acts 18 and verse 24 real quick.
Acts chapter 18 and verse 24. And a certain Jew named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man, and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus.
Okay, so Apollo, I said Romans 16 and 3, right? Apollo was now the new focus of the story, and how Priscilla and Aquila take their ministry to the next level, or rather, take their works to the next level. So let's get back to Romans 16 and 3 through 5, and then we'll come back to Acts 18, just so we can finish them up.
Romans 16 and 3. Greet Priscilla and Aquila, my helpers in Yahushua, who have for my life laid down their own necks.
And we already just read what that meant. Not only did they open their house to Paul, they opened their business to Paul. They opened their reputation to whatever Paul's reputation was, because now they're directly tied. They fled with Paul. They didn't rat Paul out. And whatever Paul was about, they were about. That was the sacrifice they were willing to make, which gave them a name and what made them respect-worthy amongst all the churches. Read on.
Unto whom not only I give thanks, but also all the churches of the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, greet the church that is in their house.
So that's why I wanted to come back here again. Because what I was telling y'all earlier is Ephesus is now the home of their new church. Or their home, rather, is the church in Ephesus. That was the next spiritual path or direction the Most High took them. Took their faith from leaving Italy, resettling, opening their house up, studying directly under Paul. So now they're an entire camp themselves for an entire city. That's what the Most High took their direction because of how dedicated they were to understanding the scriptures. So, let that go. Let's get back into Acts 18 and verse 25. So we're talking about Apollo, who was born in Alexandria. He was eloquent. He was mighty in the scriptures. He knew the Bible already. Verse 25.
God. Acts chapter 18 and verse 25. This man was instructed in the way of the Most High.
Yep.
And being fervent in the Spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Most High, knowing only the baptism of John.
Although he was mighty in the scriptures and he was passionate and he was dedicated, his understanding was very limited. So the influence the direction, the motivation, the inspiration to take people was also very limited. So, keep reading.
And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom, when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them, and expounded unto him the way of the Most High more perfect.
Now, before I really break that down, how can someone reteach somebody, remotivate somebody, to where now the end result is they're even more spiritual in the end? We're going to break that down. Hold this. Give me Acts 17 and 11 through 12. It's a chapter over.
Acts chapter 17 and verse 11. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind.
What made these individuals special, not just Priscilla and Aquila, but what made them special was they got the word from Paul, they got the information, they were open-minded, they were ready. Read on.
And searched the scriptures daily.
They did what?
Searched the scriptures daily.
They searched the scriptures daily. They made that an addiction. They made that a passion. Why? Keep reading.
Whether those things were so.
Because what makes them noble is they're not just taking these words for face value. They're hearing the words. They're open enough to at least give the understanding a shot. And they're going into the book themselves and reading daily to prove what Paul was saying was right.
On top of working
on top of doing your day-to-day business, administration. That isn't just, I'm not a Bible monk now. Everyone had to work. They had jobs. They had lives. They had to still continue. But what they were also doing with their free time was giving the Most High their mind. So they can see what Paul was saying from the viewpoint of what Paul was teaching them. And it wasn't just limited to the men. Read down. 12.
Verse 12. Therefore many of them believed, also of honorable women, which were Greeks, and of men, not a few.
Not a few women, honorable women, who took the same spiritual posture. They wanted the Bible for themselves. They wanted to know what they're being told is real or not as well. And they searched it daily. What do you think Priscilla was doing? For her to be mentioned alongside her husband as a spiritual force who took that man, Apollo, and retaught him a more perfect way of the Lord, how do you think she had been studying to reteach someone who's already mighty in the book? What dedication did she have to have, along with Aquila, to be able to be a positive leading force to this new man's life? This young brother, young zealous brother in the truth's life, who later becomes an extremely prominent minister in the camp, who now individuals are naming him and Paul in the same breath. That's read about in 1 Corinthians 3. Who was Apollo? Who was Paul? That's the same Apollo. They got taught by Priscilla and Aquila. That's their fruit. What did they have to do to get to that point? What did they have to know? Give me Acts 2 and verse 16 through 18. Acts 2, 16.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 16. Is that 16?
Yes, sir. 16 through 18.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 16. But this is that which was spoken by prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith the Most High, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh.
This is what this is what Peter was trying to tell the people as well when they were speaking in different tongues. There was a prophecy that Joel spoke in Joel 2 and 28 about how the Most High is going to pour out his flesh or his spirit on all the flesh of the devout men and women in the camps. He's only giving his spirit to devout people. Devout meaning dedicated. Let me see the definition. Devout. Expressing devout piety. Yes, the sincere. Those that are sincere. Those that are extremely dedicated to their spiritual cause. Those are the individuals who the Most High will take and use for larger works. He said, I will give them my spirit. Read on.
It says, I will pour my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy.
Now they will have the understanding to inspire and to change lives around them. This is what the scriptures keep trying to tell you. It's not limited to administration. Oh, you're just a teacher. It's not limited to particular gifts. You can acquire these if you put the time and dedication in. If you become devout yourself. If you become motivated yourself. Now the Most High can use you on a larger scale. Now he can take you and allow more works to be done under your watch, under your name. Like he did for Priscilla and Aquila. Like he was doing for Deborah. This can happen, but you've got to decide, this is what I want to do. This is the steps I'm willing to take, and there's no limit to how far I will take you. What you got?
And devout also means sincere.
Exactly.
So he's looking to see who's going to be willing to be sincere.
Okay.
It goes back to what we were saying earlier about if you want to be purged, right?
Okay.
Be that vessel of honor.
And that's the point. Whether it been by fear was the motivating factor, I don't want Christ looking at me like, man, you didn't do enough. You didn't double your talents enough. Or it was the fact that, hey, I'm tired of being the wood and earth. I need to purge this vessel so that I can be of the master's use. We all have wood and earth elements in us. Can I purge those elements that make me not so great in the eyes of the Most High? And then I can be a force. I can be an inspiration to others around me. That's what it means to be a leader. That's what Deborah was talking about, being a governor. Someone's got to do it first so others can follow. Someone's got to take that step forward. Finish it up.
It says, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And of my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy.
Because the prophesying, the whole purpose was for edification, exhortation, and comfort. The Most High is going to give us people who are willing to take these steps, to go the extra mile, to be devout, to clean themselves up, to be as responsible as they can be, so they can edify, they can exhort, and they can comfort. Then the question we got to ask ourselves is, why wouldn't we want to become those vessels of honor, of respect in the eyes of the Most High? And are we good enough to just be the earth and wood? To be those that limit themselves on how far they can grow. That's all earth and wood is. Doesn't mean you're more negative and wicked than somebody else.
Lesser degree.
It just means you're not willing to put yourself through more fire to grow and change. That's what that means. I've got to want to change. I've got to want to be used. I've got to want to be the one the Most High uses people to call me on. The Most High uses to be the inspiration for it. That has to be my passion. And if it becomes your passion, like Priscilla and Aquila, you go from the person opening your house up, opening your job up, leaving the job. Now your new house, now your new life is the inspiration of the church for others. Then the studying and the dedication you've been putting in can now inspire the next generation of teachers. That's what their legacy was about. That's what makes them so noteworthy. And you see them getting commended in like 3 different verses. Shout out to Aquila Priscilla. Shout out to Priscilla Aquila. Shout out to Priscilla Aquila. Because of the impact they were having. Not just on their church in Corinth, or not just in their church in Ephesus, but all the churches that Paul was talking about, or that he went to. They were still getting glorified because of what they were doing. Now they were a motivating factor. Now they were a story for others to look up to. But man, they did that, and I can do that too. I can do that.
They works inspired other people to do more.
Because whether you were a brother who you might have just came in as a helper, you realize, man, as a helper you can do more as a helper. Or a woman, man, Priscilla was dope. Priscilla was dope. She was reading, teaching too, dropping it too, not checking, but inspiring too. That's dope. That's inspiring. She was doing that during her time. It's in here to inspire us now as well. So, let that go. Let's get back into
18.
No, give me 1 Corinthians 14, 24 through 25.
1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 24.
Yep.
But if all prophesy, and there come in one that believeth not, or one unlearned? Is he convinced of all? Is he judged of all? He is convinced of all. He is judged of all.
Read from top again. Yeah, read from top.
But if all prophesy, and there come in one that believeth not, or one unlearned, he is convinced of all. He is judged of all.
What that's saying is, if everyone is speaking the same understanding, if everyone has the same faith in what they're doing, the new person has no way out. There's no weak link. There's no one they can go to find the fleshly or the weak answer they're looking for. They have to lock in. As a woman, if I go to the women and they're all speaking the same scripture, they're all saying the same message, there's no escape. As a man, if I come in and I go to the youngest brother there, and you got Alberto talking the word, that man, even the young brother got it.
Yeah.
Even the youngest one here is checking low key. That's awesome.
Through his actions.
Yeah, through his actions and through the word. I've seen Berto pull some scriptures.
Yeah.
What that's saying is, if you're seeing this as a new brother, it don't matter how old you are, you're like, man, all these people believe.
And not only that, act and operate
In the word.
more mature than some men in the camp.
Act, operate, speak the word, more mature, consistent. There's no escape now. There's no excuse. There's no doubt anymore. He's saying when everyone is like that, and this is the point which the Most High is trying to get all of us. Because again, the prophesying, we're not just talking about you just getting dreams. We just prove that prophesying is the inspiration, the exhortation, and the comfort through the scriptures. When everyone knows the scriptures and everyone can comfort, exhort, and motivate through the scriptures, you get faster results from the new people, from the weak individuals. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, bro. I got to bring on one point. Just on what you were saying, man. I be reading to my family in the crib and all that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And brother, I remember I was reading to my family when I was teaching class in my family, and my 9-year-old daughter pulled a precept on me. I said, wow. I said, what? Pulling precepts, like.
Con, bro.
I said, wow.
Hey, bro, the generations are picking up on it faster. I was my son, he's like 2.5 or something, bro. You know, he don't know no better, but he's like, Dad, we gonna go pray? We gonna go pray? I'm like, man.
He reminded.
Like, man, we gotta go pray. We need to pray to the Lord right now. There's a problem, man. I'm like, yeah, yes, kind of. Let's get the book out. Let's do something out. But what are we saying? Whether it be on your sons or daughters, that spirit's there. If the influences are all pushing in the right direction, remember, we read that it was in Ecclesiastes 19 about the person that's tracing. Got even his kids next to that wisdom. That even his kids on that door knocking too. Everybody is going to be in that spirit of growing, acquiring, and pushing forward. That is ideally how it's supposed to look like. If the husband is pushing forward, why is not the wife pushing as hard? If the husband and the wife are pushing forward, then the kids are going to follow right behind. This is how you create positive habits. We got a lot of bad habits that we're teaching our kids. Can we teach them good habits? Whether it be the praying consistently, whether it be the constantly working on ourselves, the constantly working on our spiritual deficiencies. So they can see, dang, life is always about improving yourself. Life is always about growing. That is an important trait that a lot of us don't learn until we get older. And made a lot of mistakes before we learned it. The sooner we lock into that spirit, that mentality, the faster everyone in our household will follow in. But Akel and Priscilla were the example of that. They were two-punch combo. They were both reading the scriptures. They were both locked in the word. So now they could both be a positive influence on the church. I bet you there was less fights in the house. There was less resistance in the house. There was less rebellion, less complaints. Why? Because they were both doing the same thing. They both believed in the same cause. And they were both willing to go to the same level and extents, the same sacrifices to get that cause established. That is the type of spirit you gotta have. It's desperate in the camp, and it's so crucial in a household. So, keep reading. So you were in 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 24, correct?
Finish 24.
I
finished 24.
Read verse 25.
God, verse 25. And thus are the secrets of his heart made manifest. And so falling down, on his face, he will worship the Most High and report that the Most High is in you of a truth.
And what he's saying is that young individual, when they're seeing everyone is talking the same level of exhortation, same level of motivation, same level of scriptures, he's like, you know what? There's got to be a truth here. God's got to be here. Because there's no way I don't find one weak link. I don't find one unfaithful person here. That is the spirit or the example of a camp the Most High is trying to get us all to embrace. Let that go. Let's go back to Acts 18 and verse 24. We'll finish at 28.
Acts chapter 18, you said verse 24?
Yes, sir.
Okay, verse 24. And a certain Jew named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Most High, and being fervent in the spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Most High, knowing only the baptism of John.
Yep. So he's still limited.
So he only had the breakdown of John baptism. Right?
He had John 1. He had John. No, that's not.
No.
That's
He had baptism.
Yeah, baptism. Yeah, baptism.
He had baptism.
Yeah. That's John 1:8, right? No, that's Mark. That's Mark 1:8. That's Mark 1:8. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, baptism. That's it. Hey, it's a great breakdown.
Yeah.
But that don't take you very far. There's a lot of the questions that happen after that.
Man.
So, well, if the washing the water is not it, then how do I get saved? I don't got that breakdown. You have to come back next week. I'm going to teach this baptism all over again. You hear about the baptism in water and in fire? Let me give you that one. Look, bro, he was mighty and he was willing, but he was limited. Read on.
Says, and he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them and expounded unto him the way of the Most High more perfectly.
That's awesome.
And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who, when he was come, helped them much, which had believed through grace. For he mightily convinced the Jews, and that publicly, showing by the scriptures that Yahushua was Christ.
So what was the story or the end result of the great works of Priscilla and Aquila? It wasn't the glory story. They weren't the ones that became the ministers on a large scale, everyone around them. But what they did do, their influence was they helped the next generation, the next leader of Israel, who was going to be known far and wide as a mighty Israelite, who was going to inspire you and check you in his word and show you scripturally how Christ is real. That was their impact. That was their story. But outside of the great works we did, or they did, we got to look at the mind and the dedication they had to put in to even get to that point where they could be trusted to be leading an entire camp themselves, to be the inspiration, and to actually have the ability and the skill, the skill to teach and instruct the wisdom to someone new and give them the same information or knowledge or ammo needed so that next man, Apollo, could be a force for Christ. Does that make sense? Is there any questions? Okay. With that being said, we're going to shut it down tonight. The Water for Brothers and Sisters coming out today in class and online. We will have our Sabbath class tomorrow morning per usual, and we will see you then. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.